This video is sponsored by Audible. That's excellent. Hello, I'm Obi.
And I'm Salma.
And welcome back to another episode of Breakfast for Dinner. We've got a breakfast for you here with some amazing Palestinian dishes, all things you'd get at a Palestinian breakfast. And you'll be surprised about some of these dishes because although you'd have heard of a few of them, there's some really interesting ones here which I think you won't get anywhere else other than in Palestine. When you think about Palestinian cuisine, what comes to mind is obviously Zaatar and falafel and hummus and those kinds of things. But we found that a lot of the stuff in Palestinian cuisine is really just about the fresh ingredients. And so yeah, you've got a lot of fresh flavors in this breakfast and I'm really excited to dig in. Should we start with some tea?
Let's do that.
This is a traditional Palestinian tea, which is black tea with sage. It's
actually called Mferkeh, which stands for dried sage in Palestinian.
That smells like, it reminds me of roast chicken. A bit of a strange one, but I am definitely up for trying this. To make this a central component of a Palestinian breakfast, you'll need some Middle Eastern tea bags. And I like this Wizza or Swan brand because it gives great flavour without going bitter. Add 1 tea bag per person, then you'll need to add dried sage. This amount was good for 2 people, and if you're using fresh sage, you'll need to use even less. Add your hot water, then let it brew for 2 to 3 minutes before removing the tea bags and serving.
That is very different.
It is, yeah. You wouldn't expect that flavour because you associate sage with like roast chicken dinners and stuff, but...
It's like having tea with cloves and the cardamom.
So first let's explain the dishes that we've got for you today. First up we've got Qalayet Banadoura, and this is basically tomatoes which have been cooked down with some olive oil and garlic, and they're cooked down into kind of like a mash. It's really interesting because usually when you cook tomatoes their flavour gets really rich and intense, whereas these, they're cooked for just enough time to break the acidity, but they're still really, really nice.
Yeah, it maintains the freshness.
To make the Qalayet Banadoura, add a 1/4 cup of olive oil to a pan over medium heat, then add in a green chilli which you should top and tail. Fry this for a couple of minutes until it's well browned on both sides, then add in 6 cloves of garlic, thinly sliced like so. Let the garlic fry for 30 to 60 seconds until it just starts to go golden. Now add in 750 grams of vine-ripened tomatoes which you want to slice in half and place open side down. Cover the pan with a lid and let this steam for about 5 minutes. When the time is up, the skin of your tomatoes should have blistered and you should be able to easily remove them with the help of a fork. Season the tomatoes with 1/2 teaspoon of salt and 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, then gently break the tomato halves into 2 chunks. I'd recommend you don't use a masher like I'm doing because you want it to be a bit chunkier. Now let your tomatoes simmer with the lid off for about 10 to 15 minutes until they have reduced and you have a chunky tomato hash like this. Top it with some parsley and it's ready to serve. Salma, do you want to explain what this other one is?
Okay, so this one over here is called Mferkeh or batata وبيض, which basically stands for potatoes and egg. You basically fry up some cubed potatoes and then once these are cooked, you add in the eggs. It's just 2 ingredients, 2 seasonings, salt and pepper. It seems so simple, but it's actually so good.
Take 300 grams of frying potatoes and peel off their skins, then slice them up into small cubes like this. Make sure you don't cut them too big, otherwise they'll take ages to fry, and then fill a pan with enough oil to go halfway up your potatoes. Heat your oil over medium-high heat, then once heated add in your potatoes in a single layer. Let these fry for about 10 to 15 minutes, turning them every so often, and they're done when they turn this mostly golden colour. Drain off most of the oil leaving about 2 tablespoons, then turn your heat to medium. Add in 1/2 teaspoon of salt and 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, then mix until all the potatoes are well seasoned. Add 3 whole eggs to the pan and then scramble this with the potatoes. Once the egg is cooked through, the Mferkeh is done, and you can plate this up and serve right away. I was surprised by how great this tasted, and I think you will be too. So this dish is Qudseya or Ful bil Hummus, and basically it is fava beans and chickpeas together, but it's seasoned with this fresh green chili sauce that they make. So it's kind of like a dressing or seasoning that they put on the ful. And yeah, it's really fresh tasting. It's really nice and it gives a nice kick to that ful. So here I've got 3 kinds of green chilies that I'll be using to make the green chili dressing. Turkish savory, bullet chilies and these pale green ones. You can use any green chili they sell at your supermarket, but I'd recommend blending at least 3 varieties with different heat levels. That gives a more rounded flavour to chili sauces, and because this sauce isn't cooked, it also hides the raw pepper flavour. So I'm using 200 grams of green chilies in total, of which there are 100 grams of mild savoury, 60 grams of these hot pale ones, and about 40 grams of bullet chilies. Slice off their tops, then remove their cores and roughly chop them into large pieces like this. Add them to a blender or food processor, as well as 5 cloves of garlic, and process this until the chili is finely ground. Add 60 milliliters or a quarter cup of lemon juice and the same amount of olive oil and mix that in. Add a quarter teaspoon of salt and taste for seasoning, and your chili sauce should be done. It should have a slightly chunky texture like this, and its flavours will continue to develop over the next few days. To make the ful, empty a 400 gram can of cooked fava beans into a pot and heat over medium-low heat. You'll want the beans quite soft for this, so let them steam with the lid on for about 10 minutes until they are tender. Now take a potato masher and lightly crush the fava beans. Once they're at this half mashed phase, you can put them in a bowl and we can make the Qudseya. Now add 75 grams of prepared hummus, and if you want to make this yourself, check out this video where I show you how to make smooth hummus at home. Follow that up with 1 tablespoon of tahini paste and about 4 to 5 heaped tablespoons of the chili seasoning. Add a handful of cooked chickpeas, and I was just using canned ones, then mix everything together. When it looks like this, give it a taste, and mine needed some more chili as well as a quarter teaspoon of salt. Plate this up with more chili sauce and chickpeas on top, and I'm sure you'll really love this ful. The only problem with making a delicious breakfast like this is that it leaves you with a ton of dishes, and I absolutely hate washing up. It's one of those chores that just seems to go on forever, but thanks to today's sponsor Audible, I can zip through it and other boring tasks without even noticing. I've been an audiobook fan for decades, and I love how they can transport you to another dimension or teach you something new while you're slogging through mindless tasks. As you can imagine, filming creates a load of mess, but on the upside I get to spend time with my favourite books such as Patrick Rothfuss's The Name of the Wind. If you're into magic and fantasy, Patrick Croft's The World Where Magic is closely intertwined with engineering, and the narration is some of the best I've ever heard. Don't like fiction? Well, when you're an Audible member, you'll get 1 credit every month to use on any book from any topic you like, such as business, history, and even cooking. You could listen to J. Kenji Lopez Alt's The Food Lab, or choose any number of the original titles and podcasts on Audible's Plus catalogue. If you haven't yet figured out what gift you're getting yourself this holiday season, Audible are doing a special offer of 60% off your first 3 months. Visit audible.com/Middle Eats or text Middle Eats to 500 500. That's any 3 books and unlimited access to the Audible Plus catalogue at 60% off for 3 months. Again, audible.com/Middle Eats or text Middle Eats to 500 500. Thank you, Audible. So next up is Zaatar, and Zaatar is interesting because it's both the name for a herb and the spice mix that you make with the herb. Every country in the Levant has their own version of Zaatar, and basically it's a mix of that herb with some sesame seeds, some sumac, and a bunch of other spices, right, Salma?
Yep.
And the Zaatar plant itself, it's a specific variety of thyme that grows on the mountains. So it's not something you usually find in Europe because it doesn't grow wild here. So the way you usually eat Zaatar is you mix it with olive oil and then you dip bread into it. You could also have it on manakish. It's got a zesty, tangy flavor, right? But at the same time, it's herby. It's green, it tastes fresh, which is really, really nice. And yeah, that is breakfast by itself. I mean, for a lot of people, yeah, this is just standard. You just have this with some bread and you just dip it. Of course, you got to use good quality olive oil when you do this. I mean, if you are doing a Palestinian breakfast, you'll need a bunch of olive oil. And so you probably should go and get some good one. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Buy the expensive stuff. Trust me, it's worth it. When you're shopping for Zaatar, you'll likely find a load of different varieties from all countries of the Levant. The raw leaves look like this, and they're ground up and mixed with other spices and sesame seeds into a mixture like this. Your best bet is to buy Palestinian or Lebanese Zaatar, and it should be a deep green colour. Every household is different, but I found that mixing 1 tablespoon of olive oil with 2 tablespoons of Zaatar gives you a great consistency. Perfect for dipping with bread. What's this?
So these are spinach pies, or Fatayer Tbsp, and they're like these dough parcels that are stuffed with a very nice tangy spinach mixture.
It's got onions in there, it's got some sumac and a bunch of other stuff in there, and it's nice and tangy, and I absolutely love these. I could live off of these for breakfast. We didn't actually make these though. We went to a bakery and got them just because we haven't nailed the recipe, and it's my Salma's policy, if we don't think we've nailed the recipe, we're not going to put something out there. I promise we will show you how to make these at some point, but unfortunately that's not right now because we haven't figured it out yet. You can actually get these with loads of other things then, but usually this shape is the spinach ones. And then you get the other flavors usually come in a round one. So this is the Zaatar one. You put that same olive oil mixture on there and you put it in the oven and the bread just soaks it up while baking.
So when I was growing up, I used to have one of these for breakfast every single day. On the way to school, my dad would stop by a bakery and he'd pick some of these up for us. This is how I've always eaten it. So fold it in half and you just eat it like a sandwich. Some people just slice it into quarters and eat it like a pizza, but I prefer eating it this way just because it's nostalgic.
So we got the manakish and the bread from a Palestinian bakery, which is just around the corner from us really. And yeah, the owners were very kind to us. They showed us a lot of different things. They allowed me to get a bit of footage behind the scenes, and I'm hoping that one day I can go back and film some manakish and other stuff with them, which would be really cool.
So we also picked up a few things for dessert from that bakery. Over here we've got Qalayet al-Nahl, which basically stands for honeycomb. It's like a soft bread roll.
Yeah, kind of
like a bread roll, stuffed with cream cheese and soaked in honey.
Yeah, they brush it with honey.
Yeah,
at the end.
it's brushed in honey.
And it's baked in a tray next to each other, so it looks like honeycomb.
Yeah.
So we've got 3 of them, which kind of shows you what we mean. It's quite cool. Can't wait to try that one.
Yeah. And over here we've got
Helbah.
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 We say Helbah in Egypt. Palestinians say Helbah. And Helbah basically stands for fenugreek. In this case, Helbah is the name of the dessert because like the main ingredient or the ingredient that shines is fenugreek. And it's like a semolina cake that's made with a Helbah and turmeric, I think it was.
And nigella seeds.
And nigella seeds. It's unique to Palestine.
So we've also got another molasses with tahina. And if you saw the Egyptian breakfast video, we did sugarcane molasses with tahina. And this time we've got carob molasses with tahina. And carob is interesting because in Egypt we use it for juice, whereas in Palestine it's used for molasses. And I had a taste of it and it's got a very interesting complex flavor. There's another essential component that is missing on this table, and that's Palestinian falafel. We have a video for Egyptian falafel which uses fava beans. However, Palestinian and Levantine falafel use chickpeas instead. We are planning a video for this in the future, but until we've nailed the recipe, try the Egyptian one, but just don't tell anyone. Should we dig in?
Well, let's dig in. I'm so excited.
Fantastic. So unfortunately the camera stopped and we didn't realise, so we lost a bunch of footage, but I just wanted to go over a few things that might have been missed off. So firstly, these honey buns are fantastic. They're brushed with a light amount of honey on them, right?
Yeah.
And they're so incredibly soft. I mean, look at that. It's fantastic. I really, really love these. Yeah, so the other thing we missed is this Helbah. And it's funny, it doesn't taste like it smells. You try it and you're expecting it to taste of spices, which is what Helbah smells like, but it's really nice. You can taste all the flavors there. You can taste.
So good.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
so good. It's such a pleasant surprise.
Really. I think the bakery did a fantastic job on this, and yeah, I think we're going to be making this one soon because it's so interesting.
Until we do, we're probably going to go back and get some more.
Oh yeah, we'll be going back for a lot more of this. I think that's about it. Hopefully we haven't missed anything else off. Sorry if we're missing some stuff. The camera did just cut off and we didn't realize. Let us know which country you want to see breakfast from next time around. And we'll try to do one of these episodes every month because I think people really like them. But I think for this episode, that is about it. Thank you very much for watching and we will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.